Hey everyone, today I wanted to take a few minutes to share a portable repeater build I put together recently. I support several teams under the Amateur Radio Emergency Services umbrella. One of the real-world issues we have run into, both while training and in actual emergencies, is not having sufficient line-of-sight coverage while supporting a served agency. To try to remedy this issue, I put together this portable repeater system. I'm sharing this information with you, not to walk you through how to build a portable system, but rather inspire others to possibly take on a similar project to support your team or community. The entire setup includes a portable shelter, power, antenna with a mast, and a complete radio system. The concept behind this is to be able to drop the case on the ground or a table, stand up a portable antenna, and start running on a UHF frequency in just minutes. With the exception of the antenna, everything needed is in the case. Once your emergency communications is flowing, you then have the opportunity to take time to set up a proper shelter and long-term power sources. To accomplish this, I placed a Yaesu DR1X repeater and all needed hardware into a 6U Gator case on wheels. Looking at the setup, you will see the repeater is mounted in the lower portion of the enclosure, and then a couple of panels are above it. The most obvious feature beyond the repeater itself is the SureCom SWR meter. The meter is connected between the transmitter output and everything else because preserving the repeater integrity is critical. The SWR meter runs on batteries and can charge from the battery in the enclosure. This meter shows you the SWR, the forward power, and the frequency you're transmitting on. Next, you will see a simple voltmeter with two USB charging ports. The primary purpose is to monitor the DC voltage at the battery terminals. This allows us to easily monitor the battery and adds the benefit of charging either the SureCom meter or other devices, like your handheld radio, tablet, or cell phone. The left toggle switch is used to select the battery charging type, or to turn charging off. If the battery is not in use, simply leave the charger off. However, you can easily switch between solar panels or the AC charger. The toggle switch on the right simply switches the battery into or out of service. If you are looking to get the repeater deployed as quickly as possible, or you want uninterruptible power, you can simply flip the battery on and it will run the whole system. The center panel and the top panel are hinged to allow access to the components inside the case. This allows for quick, toolless access to allow making configuration changes or tuning of the UHF duplexer. Here you get a quick view of the solar charger controller, a 50 amp-hour battery, a fused power distribution unit, the AC charger controller, and the UHF duplexer. The back side of the enclosure gets a bit busy. It can be intimidating, but a label maker can help you keep track of what's going on. From left to right, we start with the power ports. The top port in for connecting either an external battery for extended runtime, or you can use the internal battery to power devices, such as an HF radio. You will see later in this video, I plugged LED lights into the auxiliary battery port, which was pretty handy. The lower port is exclusively for connecting solar panels, supporting up to 25 amps of current. Next is another power outlet for USB charging and device use. The center panel is hosting a set of RF switches. These are used for switching between either VHF, UHF, or cross-band repeat functions. On the shelf, it's a bit hard to see here, but there is a VHF-UHF die plexer that is used for cross-band repeat. Then, we get to the first RF connector. This is both a transmit and receive port for UHF. Internally, it's directly connected to the UHF duplexer. You can connect your antenna directly to this port, turn on the repeater, set the RF switches, and start running the repeater. The next connector is both a transmit and receive port for the crossband repeater function. This connects directly to the diplexer. The crossband repeater function can be handy if you have a dual band antenna and need to leverage the additional transmit power available on VHF. Or if you need to move to a different frequency pair and don't have the convenience of time to retune the duplexers. The last two ports are the separate transmit and receive ports for connecting to an external VHF duplexer. You can see here we are using a nice 4-cavity VHF duplexer. This duplexer has a high enough wattage rating that we are able to add a 14 decibel preamp for the receiver and a 200 watt amplifier for transmit. I also wanted to share some information about the shelter and antennas. I have a 4-season pop-up tent, portable lighting, and a sidewall is pre-cut for a stove jack. When this video was created, I was running a small generator and solar power. The repeater was in use for multiple days and unattended for large portions of time. I left the solar charger running while the site was unattended, and then we used the generator to both charge the battery and run the equipment while we were on site. You can see the stove jack on the side of the tent is very convenient for piping all of the cables into the shelter. There are no issues with water leaking, nor insects getting into the tent. I also have an assortment of portable antennas and portable masts. They range in total deployed height from 15 feet to 45 feet. We simply pick the combination appropriate for the situation. On this particular weekend, we were using a fixed antenna at the top of a 100-foot tower. At this location, this antenna allows for coverage of the entire national park and several neighboring cities around the park boundaries. I hope this video inspires you to venture into your next project. Feel free to ask questions. I'll answer what I can. Thanks.